Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Be a Better You podcast. So, in today's episode, we're going to be diving in how to feel safe in your body after emotional abuse. And I'm going to share a personal story that highlights how our bodies react to threats, even when they're not in the real moment. And we are going to be going through the different fight or flight responses. And there actually are, it's not just fight or flight, there are four, which is fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And I'm going to explain what that looks like and different symptoms that are associated with that. And I'm also going to be sharing with you different techniques to help you stay present and to feel safe in your body. So stay tuned for that. Before we begin, I do want to remind you that I have many, many resources for you if you are in need of support. I have my online Radiate and Rise community. That community is a safe incognito space. You do not need to show your face. You can use a totally different name if you choose. It's a place where you can ask questions, you can bring stories for perspective, and get support from other people who have experienced similar things as you, as well as me. I show up in that community 4 times every single month for an hour to help coach you, give you tools and resources to help you on your journey. There is also many, many things that I include every single month that are new to help you along your journey. And one of those things that we just did this past February was tapping. So I have a huge tapping library that is inside of the community that you can access to learn this emotional freedom technique to start releasing things in the moment to help you with your struggles. So there's many, many topics that I include in there. So the Radiate and Rise community is a membership. So it's $44 a month, but it's not a commitment-based type of payment. All you have to do is pay monthly, and if you get what you need out of the community, you can dip out anytime and cancel your subscription. So if you'd like to join us and check it out, you can go visit my website at you can visit my website at www.radiatenrise.com, or you can email me at allison@radiateandrise.com, and I can give you those details. I also have other courses, such as my $15 Break Free from Rumination course, which is 2 hours and 45 minutes of self-paced training. And I have an I'm Worthy immersion program that's $197, which is 7 weeks of modules that you can invest in to help you get your self-worth back. And it is based in neuroplasticity and brain training, the same way that I help my clients in my one-on-one program, except for you're basically doing it at your own pace on your own time. And the other offers that I have, there are obviously my one-on-one program where I support people on a very deep level in my 12-week program that you can get information on my website about as well. Plus other things like, this podcast and free offers that I have that you can access on my website to help you. All right, so let's get started into this. Now, the first thing I want to tell you about is this story when I was walking my dog, and he's about 40 pounds, and I also had my mom's dog with me, and she's only probably about 25 or 30 pounds. Maybe, if that. And we're just walking along, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a dog about the same size as my dog running straight towards us and barking. And immediately, my body went into fight mode. I felt my heart race immediately. I picked up my mom's dog because she's the littler one, and I didn't want this bigger dog to hurt her. And I kind of got in between that dog and my dog, and I began yelling, and I began kicking my legs out and screaming at the dog to get away. And the dog didn't hurt us. It didn't bite us or anything. And I really think it was just kind of excited to see us, and it scared me though. But this reaction, this immediate response, was a natural one, right? It's a natural response to when we're facing danger. But often after emotional abuse, we may carry reactions with us, like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, even when there's no immediate threat. So this is an example of if you've ever been in a situation like that where your body went into fight mode. Maybe, it could have been the opposite. I could have gone into flight mode. I could have taken off with the dogs and started running. I decided that in that moment, I guess I didn't actually make a conscious choice. I made a reactive choice to get in between the dogs. But, if you've ever experienced something like that, you know what this is like, where you immediately jump into whatever, state that you need to be in order to protect yourself, because that's what these are. Now, imagine being in fight mode all the time, right? Or imagine being in flight mode all the time, right? I'm going to go through these and explain each of them and the symptoms so you understand maybe there are times that you're in one or the other, or none at all. But we need to talk about freeze and fawn as well, because we may end up finding that after abuse, we are in 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these states at any given time, even when there's no real threat or immediate danger. Okay? So the first one is fight, which is the easy one. You know what that is. But symptoms of this might look like hypervigilance, or maybe you're constantly thinking and overthinking. You may have tension, physical tension in your body, tight shoulders, clenched teeth. Maybe you're just ready to react instantly. You might have an inability to relax, have sleep disturbances, or maybe always scanning for threats, or always thinking that bad things are going to happen. This could be where you're in a constant state of fight mode. Maybe it's that you're always looking for problems, or maybe you tend to start arguments a lot. You could be in a state of fight mode a lot if this describes you. For flight mode, this could look different, right? This is going to be high alert, worrying about others' emotions, maybe conflict avoidance, a lot of fear and anxiety, maybe some physical issues like stomach problems, rapid heart rate, anxiety, overthinking, easily overwhelmed, maybe panic attacks too. And then something else would be like not wanting to engage in conflict, running away from disagreements. If you're in an argument with someone, wanting to cut them off immediately without having a conversation. These are things that show up if somebody's in a constant state of flight mode. Freeze is going to look like maybe you can't make a decision on whether to fight or flight. You literally don't know what to do. And this is like an animal playing dead, except for you aren't playing dead. You're right there. You just may be wide-eyed and unmovable. So freeze is going to look a little bit different, where you just feel like you don't know what to do. You have no answer. You don't know what to do. And if this is you day to day, and if you're in that freeze kind of mode, it may be that you have difficulties making decisions. You are struggling with deciding even the simplest kinds of things, and you maybe go into panic or worry if somebody puts you on the spot or needs an answer right away, right? You just immediately go into freeze mode. In fawn, this looks like maybe apologizing very quickly. Like you're the first one to apologize, even if you're not wrong. And that maybe you're doing that to keep the peace or to de-escalate whatever situation that you don't want to escalate. This also often looks like walking eggshells and trying to anticipate other people's emotions so that you can manage those emotions better and manage the situation better and make things non-confrontational or feel safe by your behaviors and your words. Now, there may be other ways that this shows up for you, but if you're in any or all of these, in different times of your life, this is probably because your body is trying to keep you feeling safe. But the problem is these attempts to keep your body feeling safe really don't. And they're usually not long-term solutions. These are just your nervous system stepping up to help you. And if you're used to doing this because it has been effective or it has kept you safe before, like fighting, running away, freezing up, or fawning, right? If you have utilized these types of nervous system responses, then it's likely that you'll want to keep using them, and they become habitual and they become sort of your MO. And this is just how you operate without even thinking. So now that we've covered all of that, today we're going to discuss how to start cultivating safety in your body, particularly when perceived threats from past trauma are still affecting you in the present moment. So what I mean by this is if you've experienced something in the past at any point in your life, from the time that you were very young up until now, that has caused you to go into one of these modes, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? If that has happened to you, you are trying to achieve a feeling of safety, right? In that moment, when that happened, you were trying to feel safe. So anytime something happens now that's even remotely related to that, close to it, a perceived threat by your body and your mind in the moment now, if it's linked to that, that is how you are going to try, again, continually to feel safe in your body. But there are other ways that you can do this. That way you can get your nervous system regulated and out of these fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses that you might be living with consistently in your day-to-day. Okay, so the first one, and you may know of this one and you may have heard of it, but are grounding techniques. Now, grounding techniques are really designed to help you stay in the present moment, especially when you are being triggered by something from your past, right? Because the past is no longer happening, but it feels like it is in the moment because of how that trauma has lived in our body, how those trauma responses have made us feel. And so the grounding techniques are really created to help you stay present so that you're not pulled back into the past. So simple techniques to do this include breathing, because when you are breathing, you are bringing oxygen to the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex of your brain. And that is the part that's responsible for logic and reason. So if you are in a heightened emotional state and you are not breathing, you are not able to bring oxygen to the part of the brain that actually would serve you best. So one thing, that is very important is to remember to breathe. Deep breathing, focused breathing, okay? Another thing would be to feel your feet on the ground, right? Because grounding techniques actually help you remember that you are here, you are safe, and you are in the present moment. Another one would be a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory method. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but this is where you identify 5 things that you can see. That should be pretty easy. 4 things that you can touch. That should be pretty easy. 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. Now, if you're not in a kitchen, right, like something that you can taste, you may just think, okay, well, I could actually taste my water bottle, or the water in my drink, right? So you might have to be a little creative, but the purpose of this is also to pull your brain out of wherever it was, right? You're focusing and you're trying to think of something that I can taste. So yeah, could I taste the plant on my shelf? Sure, I could taste that, right? I wonder what it tastes like. It might be weird to taste, but the point is, again, using this sensory method is pulling you out of either the fear of the future or the trauma that you experience that's living in your body from the past. Now, remember, this is when you are experiencing a feeling of not being safe in your body, just in a regular day. Like, not when something is an active threat, but if you feel like the symptoms that I described before about like being in fight mode with the hypervigilance and the constant overthinking, like you're not feeling safe, you feel like you're in fight mode, right? Or flight mode where you're high alert, you're having physical issues, you're conflict avoidant, things like that. Freeze mode, again, is where you literally can't make a decision, you don't know what to do. And the fawn mode, constantly apologizing, walking eggshells, trying to anticipate people's emotions. That's what I'm talking about. If you feel like you're in one of those 4 states a lot, like a considerable amount of time, that's where practicing these kinds of techniques can really help. So another one that you can practice is breath work. Now, I am not a huge fan of breath work, but I know a lot of people are, so that's why I'm sharing it. And I believe that the reason I do not like breath work is because the first time I ever did it, I don't think the person who was facilitating was trauma informed. And I think if you're going to try breath work, you should really make sure that whoever is doing it is trauma informed. And here's another tip. If you've ever had a panic or an anxiety attack, you want to let that person know before you do the breathwork session, because the purpose of breathwork is to do these like deep breathing activities that activate your parasympathetic nervous system, okay, which is that fight or flight system. That signals to your body that it's okay to relax. These deep breathing, right, in and out, and I do deep breathing all the time. But the one time I did it, it was a very different pattern. Like it was a very quick in and out breathing, and that sort of felt like to me like a panic attack. And so I didn't like it. And I am guessing that the person who was facilitating wasn't familiar with trauma. So my suggestion is, if you are going to try it out, that for some people it works extremely well, but you would want to make sure that whoever's facilitating does understand trauma, and if you have had panic or anxiety attacks, to inform them up front, because typically you could like inhale for 4 counts, you hold for 4, you exhale for 8, right? That's a great like box breathing technique that I like to do. But other breathwork sessions can be very different. And I would just use caution if you are wanting to try something like that. But like I said, it can be extremely cathartic and helpful to help you get back into your body and feel safe. Now, beyond these traditional like grounding techniques like I described, you can also try somatic practices. And if you're not familiar with the term somatic just means body, basically. So anything that you can do to release stored trauma from the body. And I want you to remember that emotions are just energy, E for emotion, in motion. So our emotions don't just exist in our minds. They live in our muscles and in our gut and in our posture. They live in our bodies, right? So the emotions are going to need to move through. And we have to, in a lot of cases, do physical things that will allow us to push those emotions through. And a really good example of this would be like if someone is extremely angry, right? If someone is extremely angry and they are healthily expressing their anger, they might yell at the top of their lungs, like when they're alone. They might, go to the gym and punch a punching bag and get their anger out, right? Those are healthy ways of pushing the energy through your body, because when that energy doesn't move, it gets stuck. And then usually bad things are happening and we're experiencing physical problems and emotional problems. So you may even think about animals. Like when animals are experiencing stress, they instinctively shake. Like you maybe have noticed this in one of your pets, like a dog, to release excess energy. Like they'll shake and tremor. And we can do the same thing by standing up, letting our bodies move freely, shaking out tension from our arms, our legs, our torso. There's a lot of ways that you can do this. And I have tools that I share with my clients when they need to do this as well. But all you have to do is Google it if you're looking for ways that you can allow your emotions to release using somatic practices. Another really wonderful one is self-touch or self-holding, like placing your hand on your heart or one on your stomach, wrapping yourself in a hug can be incredibly calming. Rocking, swaying side to side. I find this is very, very soothing in the shower. And this really just activates your body's sense of safety through physical touch that you can give to yourself. Another one that I really love and I use all the time, and I mentioned earlier, is tapping. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. So you do this light tapping on acupressure points on different places of your body while you're acknowledging the distress that you're in, right? So if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling sad or you're feeling lonely, so you acknowledge that on these tapping points, right? So you tap on different areas of your body and you repeat the phrases such as like in this case, like, even though I feel unsafe, I'm learning to trust my body again. Even though I feel really scared, I know that I am capable of protecting myself, right? So there's different ways and different verbiages that you can use to help you. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can always message me and I can send you some resources. And then the last one here for the somatic, right? Because this is all body stuff, is moving and stretching, because trauma can often make us feel stuck. And if we feel unsafe in our bodies, moving the body is a really great way to start to shift that, right? So this could be stretching, this could be yoga, could be dancing, could be Tai Chi, it could be martial arts. There are so many different ways that you can do this to help release stored tension in the body and help you feel safer, because otherwise all of that stuff just gets stuck. So these are small, but they're really powerful actions to help remind your body that it's not in danger right now, because you've lived in this state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn for so long that your body kind of got used to it, and that's just become like the norm for you, right? That's just what you know, and that's just what you do. So over time, when you practice these kinds of things, it helps rewire your nervous system so that safety becomes your new default, okay? So let's take a moment together now, like wherever you are, just take a deep breath in and hold it at the top, and then slowly exhale out. Now you can feel your feet on the ground. You can notice the space around you, that you are here, you are safe, and you are in control. Now the purpose of this is to practice it enough so that you can get really comfortable in any situation to feel safe in your body. And over time, what will happen is you won't need to be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn as your kind of baseline. You'll be in those modes when it's really truly needed, right? Like in the situation that I talked about with my dog, where I needed to fight or flight or freeze or fawn, right? Well, I wasn't going to fawn. I was not going to freeze because I had to protect these little doggies. I didn't think I probably could outrun this dog with my dogs and carrying one. So the only thing that was left to do was fight. So the goal is that you don't have to be in these states as your baseline, that you can be in these states because obviously that's nature and that's who you are. You're human, and that's what's going to happen for your survival and for your safety. But if there's not like an active, credible threat here, to get out of these states is to start being grounded and to use some of these techniques to stay in your body. Now, of course, you're going to hear me talk about subconscious reprogramming, because this is also part of it, right? There's the whole mind, body, spirit connection. We can't just be doing things with our brains. We can't just be doing things with our bodies. We have to connect them because they're all interconnected. So when I'm talking about the subconscious mind, part of this is going to be aware of what's happening on a subconscious level for you when these things start to happen, so that you can pull yourself out of it in your day to day. So a really easy way to do this would be to, first of all, notice which one of these do you find that you're in the most? Are you in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn more often? Like, and maybe you're not in it all the time, 100% of your day, but which one do you feel like is your kind of go-to? Like, are you the apologizer if even if you're not wrong, to keep the peace? Are you the person who freezes up? You literally don't know what to do. You can't make a decision, that sort of thing. Are you the person who runs away from any disagreement? If you feel in any way overwhelmed, you just like tap out, like I'm done. Or are you the fighter? Are you the person who's like maybe the overthinker, constantly tense, can't relax, always looking for problems to happen and being, ready for fight all the time? So decide which one of those you feel like that you're in most often. So the first thing I want to explain about this is that our subconscious mind influences the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses, okay? Our nervous systems react automatically based on subconscious programming. And these are patterns that are shaped by your past experiences, especially trauma, right? So if someone was like growing up in a household where there was a lot of attacks and fighting, and that person learned to fight back, their baseline is probably going to be fight mode, right? So even if the present moment is safe for us in the moment right now, our bodies and minds might still respond as if we're in danger. So when you understand how these responses show up in your everyday life, then you can pair subconscious reprogramming tools with your body-based healing techniques, such as the somatics that I described. And then that will create a sense of safety from the inside out. So let me give you some examples of this. So the fight response is something like, I have to defend myself to be safe. Okay, so maybe the subconscious thought patterns here would be something like, if I don't fight back, I'll be powerless, or I'll be taken advantage of, or people will hurt me. I always have to prove I'm right or protect myself because nobody else will, right? I have to show up for me because nobody else is going to. Anger is the only way to stay in control. Sometimes people, have that subconscious thought pattern. And so how this shows up is maybe reacting aggressively or defensively in conversations, maybe feeling the need to control situations or others. And then like I expressed before, like chronic muscle tension and like tightness in the jaws, the fists, the shoulders. And then something that could be really helpful if you find that this sounds like you would be the somatic work of shaking your body, boxing movements, anything where you can push that energy, that fight, like that stored fight energy through your body. I mean, that could be something that would really be helpful. You could take a bat to your bed or throw pillows on the floor, whatever that feels safe for you to do to help you get through some of those stored up emotions. That's the somatic aspect. Some grounding things that you could do is to remind yourself, like touch yourself on your hands or your chest or your hands to your chest and say things like, I am safe. I don't have to fight to be okay. And then when it comes to the subconscious mind, it's really important to look at when you first learned that anger or controlled situations by you equaled safety, and shift the belief to that I am strong even when I am calm, right? I don't need to express anger to be in control, right? So it's just shifting your mindset a little bit about this. So I think it's going to be really important not only to just shift your beliefs, but also use the body, use the somatics, and use the grounding techniques in conjunction with that, okay? Because then what's going to happen is your body is going to respond because it's hearing what you're saying in the subconscious, like, wait a minute, I am strong even when I'm calm. And it knows that you're allowing your body to process these emotions and push these things through, that you're not storing it up and you don't have to constantly be in the state of fight mode, okay? Now let's talk about the flight response. If this is you, it sounds like you. Let's think about this. So the typical flight response is that you have to escape to be safe, like gotta get away. So some subconscious thought patterns might be, if I stay here, something bad will happen. I can only be okay if I keep moving, and I have to achieve more to be worthy. Yes, that is one as well. So this is all about like, I have to run away to be safe. I have to get away. I have to be alone, or I can't be here, or whatever. Like, I'm only okay if I am not here. Like, run away. This might show up again, like it could be perfectionism. It could be constant busyness, right? You go and you don't want to deal with something, so you clean your house. I used to do this a lot with my ex. Every time I would feel uncomfortable in a situation, my flight response kicked in and I was cleaning the house constantly. You might feel anxiety, restless, like you can't sit still. That movement, like I have to keep moving, right, is part of it, because you might not be able to actually run away. Like if you've been abused in any emotionally abusive relationship, you might not be able to get away. For 20 years, I wasn't able to get away, but my flight response was still in, high alert. Like I was constantly, like anytime something like that would happen, I would just walk away or try to, keep myself busy. And I would really try to avoid the conflict. And again, sometimes we have to do these things because in that situation, I was under a lot of stress. And this was the way that I was operating under that trauma. However, if this is happening to you beyond the trauma, right after abuse has happened to you, I'm not talking about if you're still in the relationship. I'm saying if you're still in flight mode, like I used to be, but you're not in the relationship anymore, then something needs to give. Healing approach here. Try paced breathing, right? Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 8. That like box breathing technique that you can try to slow down your nervous system, slow everything down by breathing. And that really, really does work. Grounding your feet to the floor, sitting on the floor. I'm here. I don't have to run. Like just reminding yourself that you are safe. And then the subconscious reprogramming aspect here is identifying a memory where escape maybe felt like it was the only option, and then reframe it with, I am safe in the stillness is hard. I know it's hard to do, but if you've been experiencing something where you're constantly on the run, constantly busying yourself, constantly, overworking or perfectionism or restless, then how can you find safety in stillness? That when you are by yourself and alone, that you can cultivate that feeling in the quiet spaces, right? In the time that you have to bring that safety, to show your brain and show your body that it is safe to be still. This is just a practice that you can try. In the freeze response, so if you're the person who shuts down, right? You may believe I have to shut down to be safe. And you might have thought patterns like, if I disappear, I can't be hurt, or I won't be hurt. Or it's safer to just do nothing than make a wrong decision or make a wrong move. I just need to just freeze up here. Another one is I can't trust myself to handle this, right? And a lot of people who are in freeze responses feel that way. Like, I can't make the right decision. Everything I do and say is going to be wrong. So I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to freeze. But this shows up like a lot of people are stuck. They're numb, dissociated from their bodies. Again, having difficult decision making and feeling overwhelmed very easily. There may be a very, very, very heavy feeling and exhaustion or shutting down on the slightest, hint of stress. The somatics that you could do here for the freeze response would be to try small movements. Okay, because if you're in freeze mode, we're not going to try to go run a marathon. I actually could say the flight response, maybe that would be a good one to go for a run. But small movements like rolling your shoulders, wiggling your fingers, the EFT tapping would be really great because these are just small ways that you can re-engage with your body for if you are someone who is in the freeze response, right? Another really great grounding technique that I saw was to hold an ice cube in your hand and just feel the sensation of that in your hand. Or you can rub your hands together, back and forth, like you're trying to warm your hands up for a sensory awareness thing. So when it comes to the freeze response, you don't want to do anything that's majorly drastic because your body is used to being frozen. It's used to not being able to do those things. So start small, do something very little. Over time, you'll get more used to feeling safe in your body when you're not frozen, when you are moving. And then the subconscious part of this is to rewrite these beliefs of helplessness by saying to yourself and reminding yourself that you can handle this, that you have choices, that even if you make a mistake, that things can be okay, right? That no one's perfect and that we can make decisions. So there has to be this pairing of doing the physical work, doing the grounding work, honoring your body and the emotions that you have, but also reminding yourself that I can handle it, right? Because if you have beliefs like, I can't trust myself to handle this or I can't do this, that's a subconscious belief that's driving the show. That's what you believe is your reality. So if you believe that, then it's going to make sense that you would freeze up. Well, if I can't handle it, then I might as well not do anything. But what about if you start practicing thinking of it in a different way? Well, maybe I can handle this. I have made other decisions before in my life And it was scary, but I did it, right? So this is just like baby steps here. We're not going to try to do anything to like shock your nervous system. It's just little adjustments that we can start to practice to pull you out of these parasympathetic nervous system responses. Okay, now let's talk about the fawn response. And this is usually rooted in something like that you believe you have to please other people to be safe. People who are codependent, people pleasers often use this one. You may have subconscious thoughts like, if I keep everyone happy, I'll be okay. Saying no means I'll be abandoned or rejected. My needs don't matter as much as other people's, So this belief system or these thought patterns that you might have, of course, would drive the behavior, right? If you believe you need to keep everyone happy to be okay, then you'll do everything you can to keep everyone happy. So how does it show up? So again, people pleasing, over apologizing even when you're not wrong, struggling to set boundaries because you're afraid of rejection, fear of conflict, maybe like watering yourself down, suppressing your own personal needs and desires, and possibly feeling really drained from constantly putting other people before you. Now, a somatic approach to this would be, again, the self-touch, placing your hand over your heart to reassure yourself. You can do a number of, there's one called havening, where you can take your hands, your fingertips from your forehead all the way down the sides of your cheeks down to your chin, and just kind of repeat that. If you aren't somebody who likes touch on your face, then do havening on your arms, do it on your legs, like just touching, and it's almost like just a gentle, reassuring touch. Grounding for this could be to speak out loud, like, I matter, my needs are important, like looking in the mirror, showing yourself that you are important and that your needs matter, and speaking it out loud. Okay, this is really, really helpful for people who are in a fawn response. And then the subconscious part of this would be to rewire those old beliefs and shift to something like, I can say no, and I am okay, and I am important, and my needs matter, right? Like, actually believing those things is going to take you very, very far. So you might be like, well, how do I make myself believe that? Like, am I just gaslighting myself to say my needs matter? No. What you do is you start to show your mind that it's true by times that you were able to speak up or say no, and that nothing bad happened, right? Because if you pull out the Rolodex of your whole life, and you go back to that time when you were a little kid and your little Sally Sue on the playground was being mean to you, and you spoke up and said, stop being mean to me. And then Sally Sue was like, oh, and she just walked away, and, she didn't keep bullying you. Nothing bad happened by you saying that, right? You need to find the examples that prove that, right? Oh, I told my apartment complex manager that there was a problem with the lock on my door, and I kept telling them, and they never did anything about it. And so I started feeling bad about it, and then I realized over time, wait a second, this isn't something that I should feel bad about, because this is something that they should take care of. And then a couple days later, I came home and I noticed that my lock had been fixed. So nothing bad happened from me expressing my needs, right? So it's utilizing examples like that to show your mind that you can say no, you can speak up, you can do these things and feel safe and be loved. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to retrain your mind and body to feel safe in your physical form after you've been abused. Because if you've been carrying these old responses, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, into your daily life, no matter what's happening, you can't feel safe in your body. You feel completely dysregulated. Now, the other thing I want to mention here again is just that when you pair somatic, grounding, and subconscious work together, it's really, really powerful. When we're only using our mindset work, the body might still hold on to fear, and the body remembers what happened. It truly, truly does. And when we're only using body-based techniques, our thoughts might still trigger reactivity. So that's why it's important to do the thought work as well. The real true transformation in the healing happens when we're doing both, when we are doing somatic and grounding techniques to help regulate you in the moment, and then also incorporating subconscious healing, because that's what's going to get to the root of the problem so that these patterns no longer control you. So when you integrate both, you're not just managing your symptoms, you're rewiring your nervous system and your subconscious mind for this lasting emotional safety and resilience that you're trying to achieve to feel safe in your body. Okay, so I hope this episode has been helpful, but I'm going to go through a quick recap of this to help you when you are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn the majority of your days. And I really think that when we've experienced emotional abuse and our nervous system stays on that high alert, and then we're reacting to these perceived threats, which may not be real threats, right? If they are real threats, that's different. But if this is a perceived threat based on the trauma, the experience that you went through, the subconscious programming from your past, then obviously we have to integrate our bodies and our minds to help you feel safe so that you're not being pulled back into that day after day after day. Even when we are safe, our body and our mind might still respond as if we're in danger. So noticing that and understanding that is really important, and then taking action to help you practice regulating your nervous system with these different types of techniques and incorporating your subconscious healing work at the same time, right? Because you might feel like that you're in danger, but discerning that thought that you might be in danger from the actual truth is going to be really important, because if you still think that you're in danger, but you're truly not, then your body is going to respond accordingly. You're not going to feel safe in your body. You're going to feel completely dysregulated, and all of those symptoms that I described earlier from fight, flight, freeze, or fawn will show up depending on which one of those that you fit into. So to truly feel safe again, what we need is both body-based healing, somatic and grounding techniques like I described, and subconscious healing work to rewire the old patterns keeping us stuck. Because if we're just doing the body stuff and we're not working in the mind, then we're just band-aiding it. And if we're just doing the mind work and we're not pushing things through and allowing emotions to move through our bodies, then we're not giving our body the safety practice that it really truly craves and needs. And that will help rewire your brain too. So this approach works because when we're regulating the nervous system and bringing you into the present moment, all that stuff is happening in the somatic and grounding techniques. And when we're rewiring these deep-seated beliefs that have kept you stuck in these patterns, then we're working in the subconscious realm. So both of these things are going to be very, very important. And when combined together, they are the recipe for creating lasting emotional safety and resilience, and helping you not just manage your triggers, but truly heal at the root. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you need support with any of these things, then check out my online community, Radiate and Rise, on my website. It's $44 a month. You can have access to all the EFT and tapping tools. I have other things in there, that trainings and exercises that you can do, plus all of my 4 coaching calls per month that you have access to me directly that I show up on, and as well as other people in the community. So if you have any questions about this, please let me know. You can drop a comment here in the podcast if you're listening on Apple, or you can just check my Instagram or my Facebook account, and you can message me there or email me. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you'll practice some of these things and start integrating them into your daily life to help you heal, and so you can feel safe in your body. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you next week.